This channel is made possible by viewers like you. My viewers, subscribers, and patrons greatly help to keep this channel going. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all of you. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any uploads. And if you'd like to go the extra mile, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you'll get access to what I'm working on, previews of upcoming content, and even early videos, along with other tier options for those that are interested. Thank you, and now on to the video. The indie market is one that I continually look to get new experiences in the style and design of older and more classic games. Outside of a few outliers in the AAA industry, like something like Octopath, this area of the games industry is mainly focused on following new trends or discovering something new. And while many of these games are still enjoyable, I, like many others, long for titles that we had from our childhood. Many of us grew up with the SNES and PS1, among other classic consoles, or maybe just prefer those games from that time period. Either way, when indie developers are able to give us more of those experiences, I really like it. But in those rare occasions where they are not only able to bring the nostalgia, they can craft a stellar title that feels like the perfect mixture of a labor of love and the talent to make it happen, and then it all feels extra special. This is how I felt when I started Sea of Stars. I found this completely absorbing right from the start. You get a bit of gameplay and a taste of the combat, but then the story flashes back for a bit, and there isn't much combat or gameplay for a while. This means that the story, characters, world, and overall narrative need to do a lot of the heavy lifting to keep the player invested. This can be a tough area for indie games, or honestly any game to do. Pull the player in from the start and give us a reason to stay with this particular game. Sea of Stars succeeds at that. The combat system feels like something that was from the SNES era, mixed with some of the active elements from those Game Boy Advance Mario and Luigi RPGs. Presentation-wise, this game is amazing. The visuals are gorgeous, and the music is something you'll want to listen to outside of the game as well. I'm taking my time with this one, and it makes a really strong first impression. With the indie scene being one that feels like it's being over-flooded with titles, it can mean that there's a lot of titles that sadly get missed. GINSHA is one of those games. Acting as the next iteration from their prior game, Cryogear, this Metroidvania RPG is simply delightful. GINSHA is a mixture of shooting and exploring. There is something that I really enjoy about just getting lost in it. It commands and understands the genre it is within. This means that there are plenty of nooks and crannies to look out for, along with secret rooms and items to grab. Even changing how hard or easy the game is found in a side room and can be easily missed. I thought it was pretty cool that something that is usually found in a menu is something that the player can find and discover through exploration. GINSHA provides satisfying progression. You'll gain new levels, loot, new weapons, and a lot more as you keep playing. You'll find and earn new pieces of armor that will provide you with better stats and bonuses, along with new weapons to use. As you kill enemies, you'll gain experience points, and you can use this to upgrade 4 stats. They relate to different elements like bettering your blaster, health, among a few others. In addition, you'll also earn skill points through your level ups, and have a few trees to dump your points into. You have a lot of choice when it comes to your skills and what you want to focus on. Do you want to unlock skills that will improve your attacking and strength, or would you prefer better defense, or focus more on improving your exploration options? GINSHA has little touches that makes it feel like it has nods to older and classic games that we love from that genre, along with being all of its own. This is a title that is very much going under the radar and deserves more attention. Deathwish Enforcers takes huge inspiration from the Western shooting classic Sunset Riders, but now you get that type of action in the 60s and 70s. This is seen everywhere in the game. For example, if you're playing in co-op, you can have your co-op buddy adventure with one player being Clint Eastwood and the other being Charles Bronson or even Pam Grier. I really love the nods and winks to the Roger Moore Bond era. Deathwish is very much rooted in the quarter-munching games of the past. You die in one hit and your objective is to survive. Collect as many coins and cash as possible to increase your score. This is simple stuff and honestly refreshing how back to basics this is. It is short, sweet, very fun, and highly replayable. The game brings me back to a time when I would be playing co-op games with my father at the arcade, and it is refreshing to just sit down and play a title that provides a very direct experience, with no loot, open worlds, or anything like that. It's all focused on the minute-to-minute action and keeps you hooked. Plus, as a nice bonus, the game has a great sense of humor. I wasn't expecting all the politically incorrect gags, and I enjoyed all of them. Plus, some of the voice acting and impressions are great as well. This is a great title, and while it's only on the PS4 and Switch right now, the game is currently being worked on for further improvements, along with hopefully releasing on Steam and Xbox later. While indies are also focused on delivering new experiences in those classic styles, many times they try to make games that fill a hole left by AAA developers who are not interested in certain styles or even series anymore. Fans have been asking for more Dino Crisis games, and Capcom has largely been ignoring them. Thankfully, some talented indie developers have taken up the task. Dino Trauma is a first-person shooter with horror and Dino Crisis elements. Right from the start, it's really fun. The general pace of the game is moderate as you soak in each environment, and when you combine the lighting and look of the game, it puts you on edge, even if you are fully armed. While this still is in early access, I think it makes a pretty good first impression and leaves the player interested on what these developers can do with the full game. This title has great atmosphere, and I love the PS1-like visuals. You'll be shooting plenty of dinos and solving different puzzles. This title is shaping up to be something special. Zortch deserves solid praise. At the start, it provides you with tutorial-like moments to understand the movement system and shooting, but outside of this, it's pretty hands-off. Just like a good old-school shooter, there is exploration and secrets to find. Many of these result in providing the player with additional weapons or useful items. The exploration and secrets component of this title is very much what makes it feel very fresh when looking at it through a modern lens. Many big shooters today provide that funnel and narrow-like experience, which is good in its own right, but it does make me long for the days where I needed to figure it out and get to the exit, but I didn't know how. In that sense, there's some figuring it out that the player has to do, along with all the consistently good shooting. The weapons are fun to use and you get some very good toys. Plus, Zortch is $5 and it's a steal at that price. An easy recommendation. Roboquest is an indie first-person shooter that is immediately enjoyable and very fun. So much fun that the title needs to be talked about more. The action is snappy and very arcadey, the type of game that feels satisfying for one run or several. This first-person shooter blends in some addictive roguelike elements to keep you coming back, along with providing enough uniqueness to keep runs interesting. The amount of different guns, perks, buffs, mixed with the various locations, enemies, and randomization means each run feels its own. There's a good amount to grind for in the long term, as well as to increase your chances at survival. Plus, this has an option for 2-player online co-op to give it some more legs. This is another early access title, and while it is leaving it at some point this year, as the game currently stands, it's a blast. Plus, it's available on Game Pass and represents some of the very best on that service. An overlooked game that can be easily accessed through that service. So here's a few must-play titles that you should check out from this year. What are some indie titles that you have enjoyed from this year or overall? Let me know all of this in the comments down below. If you're interested in being notified of new videos, please hit the subscribe button and bell. And if you would like to support the channel and get early access to content, please check out my Patreon. All of the links will be at the end of this video and within the description. And thank you very much for watching.